Boom, I'm back again with the Champions League, the one competition that everyone respects. All of the arguing about which is the real Farmers League is put to one side on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. Well, unless you live on social media, because then the Farmers League arguments never die. They are eternal. Farmers are eternal. Hey, I'm Adrian, and you know what else will never die? People saying I suck at predictions. Now, I did indeed do incredibly well with my Premier League predictions last season, top of the creator table, I'll have you know. But my Champions League predictions last season, not the best of my performances, but not dreadful. So let's get into this. We'll have a quick word from a sponsor in there as well, but let's go group by group, full table predictions on top of the preview for each club. There should be an asterisk next to each club. There are a few that I don't really know all that well, but we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. Kicking things off here, we have Group A with one of my contenders for the Champions League, Bayern Munich, as well as Manchester United, Galatasaray, and FC Copenhagen. Let me get this out of the way. I think that FC Copenhagen will finish in fourth. I know you're probably shocked. How could he say that? Well, they barely scraped through in the qualifying rounds of the Champions League, except for when they played against Breiðablik from Iceland, who then also failed in the Europa League qualifying as well. And yeah, they landed in the Conference League. Not the biggest opposition. But other than that, though, Copenhagen scraped past Sparta Prague on penalties and then beat Polish side Raków Częstochowa, of which I nailed the pronunciation, 2-1 on aggregate. I just don't think that they have enough to finish above any of the other teams in the group. Similarly, I can't see anybody finishing above Bayern in this group, and the signing of Harry Kane is what's done it for me. Prior to his signing, perhaps you could argue that Man United could pip them, but Kane takes them over the top. Not to mention the signing of Kim Min-jae to bolster their back line, a couple of additions into the midfield as well. They're looking tasty. Plus, you consider how Tuchel can build this team in his vision after coming in during March of last season, and for me, Bayern are a team that cannot be overlooked. I mean, all of this looks great in theory. Let's see how it is in practice. I have faith that Tuchel will get it right with the bolstering of both the attack and the defense. Now, Manchester United and Galatasaray. Let's start with the Turkish side, as they have made some incredible moves in the transfer market. Now, they did lose Nicolo Zaniolo, but they added quite a few players to their already stacked lineup. Just look at it here at their transfer market activity. Icardi was just made permanent, by the way, and man, has he ever looked good. Can I say he is reaching the levels of his prime that he had at Inter? No, but he looks very, very good, that's for sure. Last season, he ended with 23 goals and 8 assists from just 26 appearances. This season, he's already on 7 goals and 1 assist from 7 appearances. Man United, on the other hand, as I went over in the Premier League preview video I made, I still worry about them at times when it comes to their attack. And having seen how their first 4 matches have gone, I'm no less worried about them. However, what I will say is that it's still early, and I expect them to get a bit better under Ten Hag. Haaland is one of those aspects of United where you have to just shrug your shoulders and say, well, could be great, could struggle, I expect an output from him similar to maybe Darwin's for Liverpool last season, somewhere around 15 goals across all competitions as he gets used to things. He's still a young little man. Big man, I should say. But that, of course, could fly way higher should everything go well for United. But that's kind of how they are, aren't they? They are certainly an on-their-day kind of team, and I don't really see them having their day against Bayern in the group standings. I see it as Bayern in first, United in second, Gala dropping to Europa, and bye-bye to Copenhagen. And when considering the defensive performances and history of some of these teams, I can't help but think of your search history and what kind of defenses you have when it comes to your online presence. How do you like that transition? That was decent, right? Well, thanks to today's sponsors for this video, an old friend of ours, Surfshark VPN, you can be fully protected online, just as I have been for the last little while. Given the circumstances, as you can see, I've been using a lot of public Wi-Fi networks in order to get work done, send emails, pay bills, etc. Doing all of this kind of stuff on public Wi-Fi networks is like walking around with your wallet held aloft. You're just begging for someone to come and lift all your personal information or steal your wallet. That's where Surfshark VPN comes in, encrypting your online data to keep everything safe for you. Or if you're at home and want to browse the internet privately, hey, what you're looking at is your business. It's not mine or anyone else's. Then Surfshark VPN also acts like a pair of pants. It keeps all of the private stuff private. There's so much that Surfshark offers. You can unblock geo-locked sites and streaming platforms, make payments securely and safely, and you can even get the security add-on with Surfshark Alert to get real-time alerts if you've had any data breaches with your ID, credit cards, passwords, etc., as well as Surfshark Antivirus and Surfshark Search. So guys, use the link in the description and use code Rabona, all one word, to get an exclusive deal from us here today. 3 extra months for free, I tell you. And with a 30-day money-back guarantee, it really is no risk. These are low-stakes commitments, so give it a shot. Thank you, Surfshark VPN, and stay safe out there on the internet, ladies and fellas. All right, the next one, PSV Sevilla, Arsenal, and Lens, the red group. That's as creative as I can get for this group, sorry. Again, let's get what I see as the obvious choice here out of the way. Arsenal finishing top. So long as they play to their potential, there is absolutely no way Arsenal should be finishing below any of these teams. Now, that's not to say that it will be a cakewalk for them, because these teams are all very challenging cakes within their own right and can absolutely cause issues. But with Arsenal and their massive budget, I mean, with one signing alone, they spent more than every single one of these teams. They should be topping this group. As you will have seen this season, they weren't perfect, but against Manchester United, they looked a lot closer to the Arsenal that we knew from last season. Devastating on the counter, but equally capable of building an attack and picking apart their opposition with the movement of their dynamic front line and incisive passing. With the additions they've made, they're only stronger than last season, bar Havertz. Because at this point, I hate to say it, I've been waiting for 3 years for him to truly show up in England. And I say this as a former Havertz enjoyer from when he was at Leverkusen. I just don't know what he does anymore. The fight for second will be quite the battle. Let's start with Lens, who lost Seko Fofana to Al Nassr, that was a big one. And Los Openda, he moved to RB Leipzig, which sees their attack needing some boosting, which they did so with signings like Wahi, Cortez, etc. They have had a difficult time thus far, as they have just one draw from 4 attempts in Ligue 1. The rest are losses, they look pretty bad. Not great from the side that really pushed all throughout the previous Ligue 1 season. A 3-2 loss, 1-1 draw, 3-1 loss, and finally a 3-0 loss as well to AS Monaco. Sevilla, they aren't having a great start to their season either after winning the Europa League last season, while simultaneously looking like they could be relegated throughout most of it. They have begun their La Liga campaign this season with 3 losses from 3 matches. Not great, but even when they look like they have fielded a bunch of volleyball players, Sevilla managed to put on a good display in Europe somehow. Losing Yassine Bono is absolutely massive for them, as he's gone to Al Hilal, and maybe I'm being hard on them, but their recruitment this summer hasn't filled me with a ton of hope. Bade, Jabril Sow, Luca Bacchio, Mariano Diaz, Sergio Ramos. I mean, I guess we'll see what Mendilibar can cook up with this squad. Sergio Ramos brings some vital experience and some good play when he's healthy. And finally, PSV, who to me are a very interesting team, as they managed to make it into the group stage for the first time since the 2018-19 season, where they were dealt a tough hand in being paired with Barcelona, Inter, and Tottenham. Tottenham went on to make the finals that year, I'll have you know. Not that I care about how you view Tottenham or anything, I support Benfica, but hey, just saying, you know, just saying. Anyway, they unfortunately lost Xavi Simons, who was incredible for them last season, as he was brought back to PSG and then sent on loan to RB Leipzig, where he is, yep, still brilliant. They got Lozano back. They also brought in Noah Lang from Club Brugge and Ricardo Pepi in the attack. Balakochap, that's the defender that Bayern was trying to sign. He joins on loan from Southampton, while Serginho Dest has looked pretty good in his return to the Netherlands. I like this PSV team, and sometimes I like Peter Bosz, but not enough to top Arsenal. PSV in second, Sevilla in third, dropping to Europa, shock, and Lens struggling in fourth. Group C, senor, we have Union Berlin, Braga, Napoli, and Real Madrid. Why not start with Union? What a story they are, man. In 2019, they get promoted to the Bundesliga for the first time, against all odds as well. It wasn't expected. In 2021, they qualify for the Conference League for the first time. In 2022, they qualify for the Europa League for the first time. 1 year later, they make history again by making it into the Champions League. This club is just incredibly run. Urs Fischer has been fantastic for them as the manager, while director of football Oliver Runert is an absolute wizard. They have once again made some smart signings, of which Fischer almost always finds a way to make it work nicely with their setup and the assets available to him. Robin Gosens, Kevin Volland, Leonardo Bonucci, Brendan Aronson, David Datro Fofana. I mean, they look good. They haven't started as quickly as last season, but mind you, they have 2 wins, with their 1 loss being to a very, very good RB Leipzig side. Honestly, seeing the likes of Real Madrid at the Stadion Andor Alten for Österreich will be absolutely incredible. That's one of my bucket list stadiums, even though I can't necessarily pronounce it properly. We also have SC Braga, who did well running through their Champions League qualifying, and they've made some interesting additions to their squad as well. They previously added Pizzi to their squad, an OG Portuguese player, and now they have added another in João Moutinho. Ronnie Lopes joined for free, there's another one, as did José Font, Bruma, all the OG Primera Liga players. They've built this squad pretty nicely, building off of what was already a very strong group from last season that was well managed by Artur Jorge, and so far they look pretty strong domestically as well. And then we have Napoli, who are a strange team to get a grip on. Losing Luciano Spalletti, for me, is massive. Losing him and replacing him with Rudy Garcia, No. I just don't like to see that at all. Now, the good news is that they still have most of the pieces that made them so good last season, such as Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia, bar the loss of Kim Min-jae, of course. And you could argue Lozano was a loss as well. He was good at times, but only sometimes. Other times he was completely ineffectual for them. Jesper Lindstrom could be quite the nice addition to the squad, as could Nathan, but we'll have to see, won't we? They fell to a strong Lazio, but otherwise, they won their other 2 matches over Frosinone, as expected, and Sassuolo. Real Madrid lost Benzema and didn't really replace him, so for the first time in the history of Real Madrid, nobody will wear the number 9 this season, which is going to be weird to see. And despite that, despite no number 9 that's worthy of being called a Benzema replacement, I still liked Real Madrid's window for the most part. And then Courtois got injured and they brought in Kepa. Who knows? Kepa is a player who cycles through being a damn decent keeper to a keeper who resembles a damn good dodgeball player in goal. So maybe they'll catch him on this good cycle and everything will be fine. That said, Jude Bellingham has taken to La Liga and the bright lights of Real Madrid like few 20-year-olds have before him. From the Bundesliga to being the main goal threat at Real Madrid in the absence of a major striker signing and many players such as Vinicius who are injured. It's not just the attack that's hurting, as Militao is out for a while, and Ferland Mendy is waiting to return as well. That said, while Real Madrid's performances this season haven't all been that spectacular, they do still have a perfect start to their season. Their previous 2 matches against Celta and Getafe were more difficult than perhaps they should have been, but as I was alluding to, I think they'll continue to improve with the new players settling in and others returning from injury. Defense could still be a worry though for me. I'm just not buying it, especially with Kepa at the back. Despite that, I see them still taking first ahead of Napoli, with Braga finishing bottom only because I see them as solid, but unfortunately the team that they need to maximize points against, Union, is a German team. And we all know how Portuguese sides do against German teams. The scourge of Portugal at both club and international level are German teams. We have a rematch of last season's quarterfinals as Benfica and Inter are in Group D alongside Real Sociedad and RB Salzburg. This group is going to be tight. Salzburg actually lost their manager Matthias Jaisel this summer as he elected to go to Saudi Arabia to manage Al Ahly. They just got slapped 5-1 by Al Fateh. I'll have you know, Al Fateh is not one of the 4 teams that gets all of that major investment from the Public Investment Fund, one of the 4 that they are trying to build the league upon. Interesting approach, but anyway. Wrong video. RB Salzburg are now managed by Gerhard Struber, who has gone through the Red Bull ranks, managing in New York previously, Liefering as well, and now Salzburg. Strong start domestically, but they always win domestically, so look, I'll be honest, I noticed 2 things when scrolling through their squad list. 1, how is it possible that all of these players are injured? And 2, I don't know many players, but with RB Salzburg, does that even matter? You know they're still going to be tough to play, and you know that they already have 12 different replacements lined up for Noah Okafor. That said, I still think they'll end up in 4th. Then you have Inter, who made the final last season thanks to incredible organization from Simone Limone Inzaghi, and they've had a great start in Serie A, where for me, they are the team to beat this season. As per usual, there are notable outgoing transfers such as Skriniar, Correa, Brozovic, Onana, Gosens, Dzeko, D'Ambrosio, and perhaps the most difficult of all for Interisti to deal with, Roberto Gagliardini. I know, Dry those eyes, my friend. But they've brought in the likes of Marcus Thuram, Juan Cuadrado, Davy Klaassen, Jan Sommer, Benjamin Pavard, Fratese, etc. Arnautovic and Sanchez have also joined. They have an interesting makeup, and they have looked good for it. For me, they are the team to beat. As much as I'd love to say Benfica can top this group, Inter have proven their worth, and Lautaro can't stop scoring this season. Speaking of, Benfica and Sociedad will battle it out for second in my eyes. No real insane losses, beyond perhaps David Silva retiring and a legend like Ieramendi departing for MLS. I guess Sorloth is lost as well, but they brought in Andre Silva as his replacement, bolstered the back line with Kieran Tierney, which was a bit of a surprise, but it could work, and Arsene Zakarian is their big signing in the midfield. They're always a strong outfit under Imanol, and Take Kuba is looking like the player he was expected to become finally. Benfica, as per usual, had some major losses such as Grimaldo and Gonçalo Ramos. Not as emotional about the latter. I mean, it sucks to lose one of your own, but Gonçalo wasn't the perfect striker. On top of that, signings were made, such as Di Maria, for free, even though he had tons of massive offers from Saudi Arabia. Love that from him. Orkun Kokcu was the big, costly signing, as well as Artur Cabral and Anatoly Trubin in goal after Vlachodimos' departure. You may have missed it, but Juan Bernat also joined, and I'm excited about David Jerusek once he gets back from injury. The start for Benfica has been mixed. At times, they've shown some stunning moments where they looked like peak Roger Ball era from the first half of last season, while other times we resembled the sad version of Roger Ball from the end of last season where we just held on to win the title. I think this season will be a bit of a mix, but hoping we will improve as time goes on, the opposite of last year. And because of that, I think Benfica can just edge past Real Sociedad, finishing in second, Sociedad in third, Inter on top, Salzburg bottom. But like I said, very tight group. We're officially in the second half of this video. Feyenoord, Lazio, Celtic, and Atletico make up Group E. What an incredible group. I like this one. Celtic have had one of the biggest losses in this group over the summer, as they are now without their fantastic manager Ange Postecoglou. I could be working on a video about him. But yes, losing Ange is absolutely massive, as they replaced him with, Brendan Rodgers. I mean, he was pretty good with Celtic. Not much of a knack for a European competition, but hey, they could have done much worse, considering how good Rodgers was in Scotland. They started the season well, lost in the Scottish League Cup to Kilmarnock, ouch, then drew St Johnstone, but beat Rangers at Ibrox in the Old Firm derby. They've also had a huge loss in Jota, leaving for Al Ittihad, by the way. He's now stranded there, but they've strengthened in both the attack and defense, so they're a tough side. So from the Scottish champions to the Dutch champions, as Feyenoord are back in the Champions League for the first time since 2017. They've had some notable losses within the squad, such as the aforementioned Kokcu to Benfica, but all considered, not too bad. And after winning the Eredivisie, they've gone ahead and strengthened across the park, while retaining Arne Slot as possibly the biggest win of the summer for them, given the rumors that surrounded him and Tottenham, etc. With him as the manager, they have consistently been a difficult side to play against in European competitions. They made the Conference League final, the inaugural one, and lost to Mourinho's Roma. Then they capitulated against Mourinho's Roma last season in the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Lazio have looked strange to start the Serie A season, as perhaps Sarri's boys looked good in their 3-1 defeat of Napoli, but that came off of 2 losses to Lecce and Genoa, newly promoted Genoa. Anyway, they had a big loss in Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, bouncing to Saudi Arabia, but I've enjoyed some of their signings. Tati Castellanos was great for Girona last season. He was also good in MLS. Daichi Kamada is an incredible signing for their attack, and I am curious to see what Isaacson brings to the club, as I'm not really familiar with the guy. Atletico have looked nice to start this season, just as they did at the end of the last season. For so long they looked lost, but they climbed right back up into the top 3. I like that they brought in Azpilicueta, who shouldn't necessarily be leaned upon as perhaps the number 1 name in your back line, but he has so many positives to bring from both a leadership and experience point of view, as well as moments of his old quality from his prime. So he's a pretty good signing in my opinion. But mostly what I like from them is just more of the same of what we saw at the end of last season. And when you add in a Memphis Depay that seems happy and back in form, well, Atleti should be a solid team this season, especially with Griezmann flying there. Barring any slow starts or major mid-season dips, which who knows, Atleti have their own way of doing things, which involves a lot of suffering along the way. Suffering is football and vice versa, but Atleti have their own distinct way of doing so while still being successful. Anyway, I see them topping this group. While I'd love to see Feyenoord make it out, I think Lazio may just pip them to it. Who knows, maybe they have a weird thing with Roman clubs where they just can't overcome them, but I think I read that they've beaten Lazio before in the past. So anyway, I stand by my standings. The one you've been waiting for, Group F, the group of death. PSG, Newcastle, Dortmund, Milan. We have a Gulf State derby between PSG and Newcastle. We have the Pulisic derby between AC Milan and Borussia Dortmund. We got derbies of different kinds, but derbies. First things first, Newcastle seems a bit strange to start this season off. I like their recruitment. They did well in that department. I still like Eddie Howe as a coach, but they seem a bit hungover after last season as they're looking like a shadow of themselves at the moment. That famed defense from last season is failing. The attack looks a bit fraught. The midfield looks confused with their current makeup, and Pope is just swiping at things in goal. I still think that Newcastle United will be solid, and the atmosphere at St. James's Park will be tough to contend with for the visiting sides, but I still see them as finishing bottom. Third at most, but I'll put them in the bottom. Borussia Dortmund have had a typically Borussia Dortmund-ish start to the season, in which they have looked nice at times and quite poor at others. They cashed in big time on Jude Bellingham while allowing others like Mahmoud Dahoud, Rafael Guerreiro, Nico Schultz, etc. to walk for free. But they did sign Marcel Sabitzer, Felix Nemetcha, Benzabaini, and Niklas Füllkrug. For those who watched the weekend recap last season, you'll know we loved Füllkrug. But what we don't like seeing is Dortmund doing Dortmund things, like blowing a 2-0 lead at home to draw with newly promoted FC Heidenheim. That's not nice. This coming just a week after they drew 1-1 away to Bochum. That's not great. And needed a late strike from Daniel Malin to beat Köln at home in their Bundesliga opener. I feel like that stardust from Bellingham, or the lack of it, will be felt this season, and they could suffer a bit. Who knows, hopefully Terzic can work his magic once again, and they're competitive. Who do I see finishing at the top of this group? PSG. But Adrian, they've lost Messi and Neymar. Yes, they have, and that makes Luis Enrique's job so much easier from a coaching point of view, because now they can defend as a team. Well, if you don't count Mbappe at least, but hey, under Enrique, things could change further. It's early days still, but I like what I'm seeing from them. Then again, I liked what I saw from PSG early on under Galtier, and then they were horrid to watch at times after that. But anyway, Galtier is a decent manager in his own right, but Luis Enrique is at a totally different level. He's meticulous, almost to a painstaking degree at times, and his style of play is clear. And the way PSG are playing at the moment, they look great under him. Man was freaking out over Donnarumma punching the ball instead of catching it and distributing it. Anyway, it also helps that they brought in Kolo Muani to play off of Kylian Mbappe, which could be quite the terrifying duo. Mbappe has always spoken of how he has wished to have somebody to play off of, and now he has his wish. Kolo Muani is a sick talent. If you aren't familiar with him and you haven't watched my video on him yet, you should do so. Get acquainted if somehow you still are unfamiliar with the dude. Slow start to the season, but PSG had 2 great victories over both Lens and Lyon, not exactly pushovers, where they were playing some fantastic football along the way. And finally, AC Milan, who had set the gauntlet for themselves during this transfer window after they had sold a player who would absolutely fight for the badge in Sandro Tonali. Looks like they'll have an awkward meeting already, eh? At that time, not many transfers were happening at Milan, but all told, I love what they have done with this past window. Pulisic for 20 million euros is an absolute steal, and he's playing great, just as Okafor is a great steal at 14 million. They didn't pay more than 20 million for any signings, such as Reinders, who has showed incredible signs. Musa, Chukwueze, Loftus-Cheek, great business. Jovic and Romero on loan as well. However, they did lose Tatarusanu, so how could they do that to the guy? I really like what I've seen on the pitch and off of it as well with Milan, so I see them finishing in second in this group behind PSG, with Borussia Dortmund in third and Newcastle in fourth. I really want to believe in Borussia Dortmund, but I feel like as a club, their belief in these do or die situations stutters. Instead of do, they die. I think Milan, with the recruitment they've done, will pip them to second. Leipzig, City, familiar foes, share Group F with Red Star and Young Boys as well. Red Star are back, baby. Back in the Champions League group stage for the first time since the 2019-20 season, they had to go through nobody to qualify this time, and they have, as per usual, looked really good domestically. Just one loss to speak of, that coming up against Vozdovach. They sold one of their best defenders this summer as he took off to play in Russia, but they have been very busy otherwise. I don't see Red Star doing much in this group, but they will certainly have the opportunity to do something against Young Boys, as both City and Leipzig will likely be a bridge too far for them. Speaking of Young Boys, alright guys, get all of your wow, it's not fair. They get to play against young boys while others have to play against grown men. Get all those jokes out of your system. Let's do that now. Go ahead. All right, you good? Now, young boys, the inhabitants of Wankdorf Okay, yes. Wankdorf, get all of your jokes out of your system as well for Wankdorf. The young boys of Wankdorf. They should change their club name to that. Anyway, they won the league by a full 16 points last season and had to go through Maccabi Haifa to get to the Champions League group stage. And after a tough 0-0 draw in Israel, slapped Haifa 3-0 at the Wank House. Get spanked at the Wank. Guys, I clearly don't have much to say about Wankdorf. I mean Young Boys. I'm sorry for that, but they just fall outside of my peripheral vision, you know? Their manager, Raphael Wicki... Come on, the Young Boys at the Wankdorf, coached by Raf Wicki. It's great fun, but I don't know how much fun they will have in this group. I have them in 4th, Red Star in 3rd. The top spots, a battle between City and RB Leipzig. Leipzig did well in getting Xavi Simons on loan from PSG, who recently bought him back after a great season at PSV. Quite the journey there after leaving PSG for other opportunities. Leipzig also sold 3 massive names in Guardiola and Kuku and Szoboszlai, but they have also purchased accordingly to try to fill in the gaps. Psycho joins from Salzburg, as does Seiwald and Openda, and they're going to be a very difficult side. Manchester City have had an interesting summer, where at times early on it felt like the embodiment of the do something meme of the dude poking a dead guy with a stick, but do something they have. Major outgoing players like Mahrez, Gundogan, and Laporte, Cancelo as well, I guess, but they've also brought in a fair few bodies. Gvardiol, he gets an instant return to Leipzig. Mateus Nunes, Doku, and Kovacic. Great signings. Kovacic is slotted into Guardiola's fold immediately. That sounded gross. Ugh. Doku is raw, but will be a great successor to Mahrez, while Guardiola has wanted Mateus for a while now, at one time calling him one of the best players in the world. Easy there, but he certainly is a very talented player who I think could become a very scary talent after some Guardiola training. City are the defending champions and treble winners, and I don't think that this will be a cakewalk for them, but they should top this group. RB Leipzig, having a full preseason under Marco Rose now, will give them a lot more trouble than they did previously, but I still expect City to top the group and Leipzig to cruise through behind them in 2nd, Red Star in 3rd, Young Boys in 4th. And finally, you ready for this? Group H consists of Barcelona, Shakhtar, Antwerp, and Porto. Let's get, for me, the clear winner out of the way. Despite their alleged financial issues, Barcelona are still improving their squad greatly, while only spending about 3.4 million euros on transfers. They also had some money coming in here and there from the transfers of Dembele, Cassier, Trincão, etc., but they still did some fantastic work this window to get good players in without a fee. João Felix, João Cancelo, Inigo Martinez, and Ilkay Gundogan all arrived without a transfer fee, while they paid just 3.4 million euros for Oriol Romeu, who bolsters Xavi's midfield options further. They've looked a bit strange at times during the opening La Liga matches, but I expect them to find their feet and start cooking. Looking forward to seeing Lamine Yamal break more records in the Champions League, as he has looked amazing already for club and country. If they fail to get first, that would shock me. Similarly, if Antwerp don't land in any place but 4th, I would also be shocked. The way in which they won the title last season, with Alderweireld scoring the title-clinching goal, will go down as one of the best conclusions to a league season. Who knows, perhaps the now beloved Mark van Bommel will be able to pull off the unthinkable for them and have them finish in 2nd or 3rd. I mean, that title victory was unthinkable also, but 3rd feels like their ceiling. I will keep an eye on the 18-year-old midfielder Arthur Vermeeren. Watch this space. Then you have what I see as the battle for 2nd place, which I think will be fought between Shakhtar and FC Porto. Now, FC Porto have my respect when it comes to their performances in European competitions, and Sergio Conceição, love him or hate him or despise the dude for his antics and everyone against us attitude that kind of falls flat outside of Portugal. I mean, the man knows how to set up his team and get them to run through walls for him. As I said, their record in Europe has my respect for this. I do kind of wonder if it is starting to fall a bit flat though, given Porto's start to the season. It's just the beginning, things can change, but they haven't looked like themselves. They are getting results, but they seem to be a bit off compared to previous versions of Porto. They managed to hang on to Taremi, however, who is a brilliant striker with great technical ability, but as one commentator put it, the top penalty salesman in the league. They've been getting a lot of ridicule because of that lately. They'll need him to be at his best in all respects if they go through. Then there's Shakhtar, who are basically Champions League mainstays at this point and have already won by avoiding Real Madrid and Inter this season. Poor guys would have had to file a complaint to UEFA if that happened again, getting drawn in the same group. Anyway, they lost Anatoly Trubin this summer as he joined Benfica, and they have since gone with Riznik in goal and have only managed one clean sheet with him between the old sticks. Whether there's a drop in quality there or whether that's just a happenstance, I'm not sure. That's the thing with the Shakhtar side. I just don't know enough about them, and that's why I will go with the devil I know, so to speak, and put Porto through in second thanks to some Conceição magic. Barca first, Shakhtar third, Antwerp just enjoying a tour of Europe. Alright guys, that's it for this video, a massive one, but thank you so much for joining me. Always fun for me to go through all of the teams in the competition and provide some thoughts. If you enjoyed and you learned something, then consider hitting that subscribe button. Other than that, take care of yourselves, please. Alright? Ciao.